Everybody. Hello, everybody. Hi. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to our fourth fourth segment of the mental health, maintaining your mental series for Mental Health Month. I'm glad you guys are tuning in to this video. We have already covered, if you haven't watched them already, we've already covered movement for your mental health, sleep hygiene for your mental health, and last week we did nourishment for your mental health. So if you haven't watched those videos, go back and watch those videos. Those are super helpful, and they all kind of come together to give you a full spectrum of things that you can work on and be intentional about. And so definitely check those out. But for today, we are here to talk about self-care for your mental health. Of course. And I think that when I just simply named it self-care for your mental, I was realizing that I was going to kind of have like a different take on just a different perspective on some of that stuff. So I'm going to share that with you all today. I know that self-care is good and trendy and it's everywhere, at least on my Instagram. Maybe it's because of the algorithms for me, but it is definitely something that is ever present on my Instagram, in the articles these days, especially post-pandemic. Self-care and mental health are really just they're very important, but they're also very trendy right now. And so that's what I kind of want to delve into a little bit more and really talk about the truth and the reality behind self-care. So what is self-care? Self-care is just the strategies and tools that we use to maintain healthy functioning and enhance our well-being. That's a pretty much nutshell. I don't know if anybody could argue with that being the definition of self-care, but it's very broad and it leaves a lot up for interpretation and for application, which is where I think sometimes we get caught up. All right. And so when we talk about the last part of that, which is to enhance your well-being, right? There are actually 8 areas of wellness to consider. Okay. So we have mental and emotional, spiritual, social, relational, we have physical, we have spiritual, we have occupational, financial, and environmental. There we go. That's 8, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 areas, all right? So when we're talking about self-care, you are a part of each of those areas. Each of those areas needs care from you, okay? So sometimes, here's where I'll give my take on things. Sometimes I think that the trendy application of self-care is maybe more so presented like a BandAid. Okay, so it's like is self-care seen as a luxury or as something to do as a last-ditch effort to continue moving through your life as is? And so you might find people, taking, and some of these are not all bad, but just in their application, it's taking vacations, going to the spa, getting massages, hair, nails done, right? Eating out instead of cooking. Let me think of some other ones I wanted to mention. Bubble baths, spas, shopping, things that are just like pampering of ourselves. And although that is very important, and that is an element of self-care, personal hygiene, absolutely. Taking care of yourself in other ways, allowing yourself to be served and treated well, I think is a imperative part of self-care. But let's be honest, y'all. If that's the only thing that I'm doing to address other areas of my life, it's not going to work. It's not going to work, all right? I can be in the bubble bath all I want to, but if I haven't set some true boundaries, if I haven't gotten my money management together, if I haven't had some clarifying conversations within my relationships to really lift where the stress is coming from, the bubble bath is just the bubble bath. It's really not, and the candles, and you can do it all, and you're not really treating the issue. And that's why I say it can sometimes be applied like a Band-Aid. It's just like, okay, well, if you're bleeding and you need, ointment and things like that for a wound, you're not just going to slap a Band-Aid on top of it. We can't just go get our nails done all the time, okay? So sometimes people say, yeah, work is so stressful. I I just need to just go get my nails done. And it's just like that almost that can be applied in that situation, but it almost serves as a distraction or an escape or an avoidance of what really needs to be addressed, which is the stress load at work. Maybe that's work life boundaries. Maybe that's having some clarifying or like hard conversations at work around what's going on, asking for more help. That can look like a lot of things. And if you just go get your nails done or go for a vacation for 3 days, you're going to come right back to the same work environment. So that's where I'm going with the idea of self-care. Sometimes our self-care tactics can actually be sabotaging our progress because they're not really addressing the issue. I get my nails done, my life remains the same, and I just have cute nails. I take a bubble bath, I'm clean, but my life is still the same. Now I'm just clean and moisturized, going back into the same life circumstances. Okay, so self-care is not just the feel good, and this goes for coping skills in general. There are a lot of different coping skills, and the self-love and the relaxing and the taking the load off one usually gets a lot of attention, and there's so many more. The distraction coping skills get a lot of attention, get a lot of use, but then there's other ones such as time management. Okay, there's asking for help, right? There's setting boundaries both with yourself and with other people. There's scheduling appointments. Have you scheduled all the appointments for the year? If you think about, we're about midway through the year, have you scheduled the appointments that you need to schedule to make sure that your health is up to par? I'm talking a physical, an annual woman's exam, and dental as being like the basic three. And if you have eye appointments and other things that you need to do, that is all a part of your self-care. So scheduling the appointments that you need to. How well are we doing at those things? Usually when I say that list, and that's just a short list, people are like, ooh, yeah, I ain't thought about that. Oh, yeah, yeah, exactly. That is what we mean by completely diving in to self-care, okay? So, again, nothing wrong with the other fun stuff. I think there's room for it all. I think that we just have to make sure that we're prioritizing what really needs the self-care energy that we have and what maybe might be serving as an escape or an avoidance of what really needs to be addressed. Okay, so get your nails done, but also know that that is only a temporary feel-good dopamine boost type of thing. Have a massage. Your body probably needs it. Go to the chiropractor. Your body probably needs it, but let's figure out what's causing pain in your body also by going to the doctor. Y'all see what I'm saying? Okay. I'm gonna move on from that, but y'all see what I'm saying. So I'm going to give you 3 tips. You know, I love to leave you guys with some tips on some things that you can do. This is not an exhaustive list. This is just something to get the conversation going and give you some nuggets to take away from this on things you can do to have self-care for your mental health and make sure that those things are meeting your actual needs. And so the first thing is to identify the major stressors in your life. What is stressing you out the most? Do not judge the list. No one else is going to see it. If it's your kid, put your kid down there, okay? If it's your partner, if it's your mama, if it's your daddy, if it's your roommate, if it's someone else at work, put it down. You have got to be clear on really what the root causes of your stress is, so that when it goes to making a plan and implementing some self-care, you're actually caring for the root issue, okay? The next thing is to plan for obstacles and challenges. Sometimes we go into a situation and maybe we have a really positive outlook. We have a plan that we really want to see through, and nobody really wants to think about, okay, so what happens if this doesn't work out? Sometimes that can feel like negative energy or just something that we're just not thinking about at the very beginning of something. But I always, with my coaching clients, I always try to say, okay, I know you're feeling good, you're feeling great, you got the energy, you got the motivation, and you're ready to start this and you're ready to start fresh. But let's go ahead and plan for some typical obstacles that come along. For example, you might realize, following these tips, you might realize that work is a stressor. And I'm bringing up work because work is a stressor. I'm bringing this up as an example because it's literally a stressor for most people, right? And so you've identified work as being the stressor. And you come in and you say, okay, my new plan is that I'm going to have some better work boundaries, meaning that I'm going to show up to work and I'm going to leave work. And when I leave work, I'm going to leave work items, work to dos. I'm shutting down my email. I'm leaving all of that at work. That's a great plan. That is a great plan. However, what are you going to do when it's, let's just say it's 4:55 p.m. and someone sends you an email that you know is going to take an hour to figure out? Got to make a phone call, got to shoot an email, got to find a document to send over, all that kind of stuff. How are you going to handle that? How are you going to handle when you put your work boundaries in place to only take care of the things that are according to your job description, and your work buddy, who usually puts stuff on your plate, asks you to do something for them? They may not know about your boundaries yet. So they're going to continue showing up the same way they've been showing up, and it's going to be up to you to kind of establish that there's a new normal. How are you going to handle that challenge? How are my people pleasers? Hey, raise your hand. How are you going to handle when someone else pushes back at your boundaries because they're taken aback that you have them? That's what I mean by planning for the obstacles and the challenges. And it's a very healthy thing to do. You're going to do better. It's going to have probably an immediate change. It's going to be pretty soon thereafter that you're going to start to feel the results of making some of these changes. But other people and other things have to kind of be brought into the loop. And so planning for those challenges and or planning for ways that you get in your own way is definitely a part of this. And the last thing that I'll say is making it a priority. We have somehow come up into the world to think that because we viewed self-care as a luxury, which is what I talked about earlier, we view it as optional. We view it as, it's just like I could do it or I could not do it. Yes, you could do the facial or you could not do the facial, but we just established that that's not all of what self-care is. And self-care in its truest form, when we consider every area that it needs to show up, is really a non-negotiable if you want to have a healthy and prosperous life. Okay, so making it a priority. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to have bumps in the road. I just said that, but you've got to mentally decide that this has to be top 3, if not first. And I'm just giving grace because I'm like, okay, if it's been 15th on the list, okay, let's just move it up into the top 10. Let's move it up into the top 5, eventually top 3. And honestly, when you do that top-down modality of me first and then other people, you're a better person for the people that you're showing up for. But we don't have time for all that today. That's a word, but we don't have time for that. But if you can learn to make it a priority, everything may not happen, but what are 1, 2, maybe 3 things that you can start to do and let them be non-negotiables in your life, okay? So the 3 tips that I give is to identify the major stressors, all right, that are happening in your life. Of course, you need to make a plan for how you're going to handle those using the true definition of self-care and the true tools that you have that you can do to fix that. And then planning for obstacles and challenges that commonly come up for you and staying true to that plan. And then lastly, make the plan a priority. Make it a non-negotiable. Okay? So that is all I have. Feel free to drop questions in the comments. I will be sure to get back to you guys. Let me know what you think about this topic, especially around self-care as a luxury versus self-care as a non-negotiable priority. I love that conversation, just talking about how that's presented in our culture and how we can start to reframe what it means to take care of ourselves. So let me know what you think. I'll be glad to have a conversation with you, and I will see you next week. All right, bye.